I've had a lot of special teachers. All we dudes, though. My 7th grade English teacher paid for me to go on the school field trip because my family couldn't afford it. My civics teacher would let me sleep during class because my grades were so good, and we'd have long talks about politics and history. I used to have long talks about philosophy and cars with my auto tech and woodshop teachers. I had a real special relationship with the football coaches, weightlifting class coaches. I graduated 12 years ago but still talk to them to this day. My principal gave me permission to leave class whenever it got too much for me. I'd just stress out sometimes without knowing why. 7 to 10 years old. There was a little nature reserve and pond, so he bought me a greenhouse, and we'd go to a DIY store and buy seeds and compost, and I'd go there and look after my plants instead. WASNT. Until I was older I realized how weird that was. There was another boy who had his own mice at school that were just his to look after. I knew he was odd. His shirts were always dirty and he'd come to school bruised sometimes. It literally took me years to realize that Mr. Peddler recognized there was something going on at home with both of us and gave us a safe space. Such a dude. My teacher said if I touched his snake I would get straight A's. He kept his word. My earth science teacher gave me extra credit for looking after the lizards he kept in his classroom. I was a tar for my English teacher in HS, basically to help with collecting homework and course organization. I spoke fluent English already, so she would ask me to take over her classes and explain homework questions while she chilled at home. She allowed me to do irrelevant stuff in her class and tolerated when I didn't feel like handing in homeworks. It wasn't special treatment, but my 4th grade teacher told me once that I was smart. I held on to that feeling for a long time. It was one of the only compliments I got. I believe that we are all smart. I got 1.9 GPA in first year college, used to be computer engineering, but when I moved to BMED I got 3.8. Find your place and I believe in you. Hey, thanks. That was over 35 years ago. I've since found my place and love it. My elementary school phonics teacher was an absolute gem. It wasn't just me specifically, but she took an interest in our individual reading progress and our progress as developing people. She treated us like her own kids for real. I do remember her occasionally pulling 2 or 3 out of class just to hang out and chat in her office for a while, or practice reading out loud in a quiet space away from everyone else if we were particularly shy. She didn't have to do that, but she did, and I appreciate the hell out of her for it. Had an English teacher who would ask me to stay after class to ask about my thoughts on certain passages she had found that she thought I would like. She also told me she would save my essays for last so she could relax with a glass of wine and enjoy my writing. I miss her. My geometry teacher swore I was cheating, said I must be cheating out loud in front of the class, made me take tests in corners or behind her desk. I just knew the course already in my head. Never did one day of homework, made 100% on every exam. She couldn't get over it. Gave me a B because I did no homework. My dad got that changed to an A+. She sucked. Now I look back and think, was there a more advanced class I could have tried? I became a carpenter down the years. It was geometry every day. I left school because I was depressed and suicidal. None of my classmates knew what was going on since I wasn't friends with any of those douches. After I left the school, some of the students had asked one of my teachers why I'm not going to school anymore, and she had told them that I have gone insane. I felt humiliated when I found out. That's really ignorant from the teacher. If I were you, I would go there and beat him. I didn't want more trouble. I stayed home for a year, started school again the next year, and I'm perfectly fine now. This is what matters. I was always the smart but lazy kid who coasted with high marks because my teachers knew I was smart and left me to my own devices and didn't challenge me. So I dialed in a lot of my work. English teacher gave me a B on a paper which pissed me off. Asked him about it, and he told me that it was in a paper for everyone else, but he knew I could do better if I applied myself. It challenged me, which I needed badly. My 9th grade science teacher loaned me a $3,000 microscope in 1980 money because he knew how interested I was in science. It helped spark a love of science I still hold to this day. I'm not sure if this really counts, but when I was in 7th grade, the teacher who ran our GSA would let us go to lunch with our room every day. He would curse in front of us and buy us the weirdest items he could find on Amazon, but there are 3 things that I specifically remember. The first is the time that there was a class outside sitting under the window in his room. His room was on the 2nd floor. He took out the window screen and had a competition to see which one of us could get the most paper clips in people's hair. What makes it even better is that the winner got 120 mini plastic babies. He also organized a scavenger hunt for us right before winter break. He arranged clues around the room and created a Google Classroom with a ton of hidden clues in it for us, and when we solved the puzzle, we each got a bag of 100 peppermint patties. The last thing was when he arranged something kind of like a scavenger hunt without me knowing, to ask out the girl that he knew I liked. I was mortified because I didn't know this was going to happen, but she said yes and we've been together ever since, so I guess it worked out. Basically, he was the best teacher I've ever developed a friendship with, and the only thing that made middle school tolerable. Now I go back to my middle school once a week and run the GSA with him, and it is without a doubt my favorite place to be. I will forever be thankful for him being in my life. I used to doodle a lot. My teacher was the only one who pushed me to do it more. She even made a blank spot on a final exam labeled Anon's doodle space. When I was graduating from her class, she had me fill multiple pages with my doodles and sign them. I still doodle a lot. Never made it into anything more than a hobby, but my teacher's support for one of my creative outlets was probably my favorite thing in high school. That's awesome. Do you have a favorite doodle that you remember from those days? Yes, actually. One was of a broken pencil on the ground, and creeping out of some bushes behind it was a walking pencil sharpener. I just captioned it like it was a nature documentary. The wounded pencil makes a perfect meal for the wild pencil sharpener. I never said they were good doodles, lol. Our English teacher loved giving surprise tests to see if people studied their homework. You know how it goes in high school. Lot of people didn't really. I think he secretly liked it when someone got a low grade on those. At one point he used to pick me every single week because I was a bit disruptive goofball class clone. Jokes on him because I didn't need to study my homework, ace the tests. I played a lot of games as a young kid, and half my soccer team consisted of English-speaking kids. I'd easily get a 9 or 10 for every test, which caused my average to be really high. When he caught on, he stopped giving me those tests right away. I've had a bunch. I've been fortunate enough to have made meaningful connections with teachers throughout my entire academic career. In middle school, my art teacher would give me art supplies from the storage closet to keep so I could make art at home, as I had a very low-income home. In high school, I became friends with the deans, so they would regularly let me skip class and write me notes to excuse me. Once they even let me leave school early to get ready for prom. Other teachers have made deals with me to let me do an independent study type deal where I get marked present for attendance but was allowed to stay in the library and learn my own stuff. I can confidently attribute so much of my academic success to teachers who have gone above and beyond for me. I'm eternally grateful. I had a teacher that thought I was an absolute genius. Granted, just about everyone else in the class were total slackers, but I really wasn't much different. She would sometimes use my test answers to grade the whole class. After my first college semester of French 1, the professor personally called me to enroll in a specific French 2 course and that the professor would take care of me. So I did enroll and showed up a few times only and didn't even take the final exam. Got an A. I passed French 1 with ease since I took 3 years in HS. I believe my professor was trying to help a colleague by putting enough butts on seats so her friend can have a job. Teachers liked me in high school. I wasn't a pet, but I also wasn't a menace. Senior year I had a teacher fix my mark when in reality it was much lower. Another teacher would teach me guitar, and another let me take their instrument home. Well, my story is a bit different. I don't know about you, but I didn't know anyone that had same treatment. I am the confrontational type of people that would not keep things to themselves. In 10th grade, the new chemistry teacher used to harass my sister's husband as he worked in my school. My sister was really annoyed but didn't want to say anything yet. In class, she talked to me about him and then I exploded in her face. A barrage of insults and sent her out of the class. I still don't know why she ran out, but I think she got scared. The principal at that time, now dead because of cancer, God bless his soul, took me out to drink tea and eat. He knew I won't attack anyone because of nothing and he ended up firing her over it. He hated me because he lost a political debate to my grandfather. Openly bullied me. Fuck that guy. I hope the next heart attack kills him. You know, you could just ignore him. I'm worried.